Hey, Sandrine.
Hi.
Sandrine really is one of the kind of smartest thinkers and doers around the convergence of kind of online and offline retail. So today we'll try and get at where that convergence is now and where it's headed in the future. So FARFETCH works, I mean, we all know who FARFETCH is, hopefully. FARFETCH is working with other brands, Thom Browne, Chanel, and Neiman Marcus now, and we'll talk about that. But I guess Browns, which is a high-end multi-brand retailer which FARFETCH owns, that's where you kind of can test out these ideas most kind of I mean, how much is a test lab, and in what ways, without getting super into the weeds, does Browns point to the future of physical/digital retail?
Well, I think what is interesting when we bought Browns, which was actually 7.5 years ago when I started at FARFETCH, the whole idea was, while all the companies were going full steam in digital and probably leaving their stores apart, FARFETCH decided to go into physical, and physical retail has always been at the center of what FARFETCH has been doing through obviously our model with boutiques, how we started the business. And the reason why our CEO was really keen to buy Browns, obviously because it's a heritage multi-brands, as we all know, but also because we strongly believe that actually the retail of the future is still happening in physical retail. And this is one thing for luxury, is actually that emotion is driven by the people, right? It's about the magic is still happening in seeing the product, is trying on the product, is interacting with the sales associate, which made all of those experiences really unique. So that was really the reason why Jose decided to move into this acquisition. And from that, what we wanted to do is really to use Browns and the magic around their heritage on how we can really portray the future of retail. And that wasn't easy, though. At the beginning, we started with really unveiling the foundation and the infrastructure of the business. That was obviously the basic of IT in physical stores. But within that, what happened is actually we really quickly use it as a test lab, and where we started to really launch new type of models. And that's been really in the essence of what we do. So we had initial stores that we created in the East End, which was a kind of a nomad concept, was really the first kind of unveiling of that technology, which was really beta at the time, because as you could realize, all those things take time, and it's not always straightforward when you start to test those new experiences. And then we opened about 18 months ago our new flagship in Brook Street, close to Claridge's, and that's been really kind of the sort of unveiling of that vision, looking at how the technology is really impacting the entire customer experience in that stores, and doing that in a test and learn approach from some of the technology we've been using. So that's been actually, I would say, like a 7-year kind of ongoing challenge. I mean, roadmap, right, to kind of understand how customers will interact. And also, I think what has been interesting is just not because we are FARFETCH, we get everything right on the first time. We did a lot of mistakes down the way on stuff we try and it was not working, or things we are still testing, we still are not proving, but we know there is something there. So I suppose that's really for us how we really using Browns as this sort of icons of future retailing for the group.
Yeah. Great. So we spoke, I guess, 5 years ago here when you were launching the Store of the Future concept, and then there was a lot of press around smart mirrors and smart hangers and smart this and smart that, which is great and is there now in brands. But I wanted to kind of dig in to kind of far simpler technology in a way, clienteling apps which store staff can use, and then how customers can use the Browns app as well. But really, I mean, what is a clienteling app? Because everybody's talking about them, but what makes a good clienteling app for you? What does the Browns app do? And what should a good clienteling app do?
I think what I probably will turn around the question around actually starting with what actually, as I said, what makes luxury retail so unique versus any other thing of retail. And as I said before, in luxury, it's all about the empowerment of your sales associate. So what you have to really think about when you think about those tools, right, enabling tools, is what are the problems they're trying to solve and how you can really bring back that magic of luxury into the hands of the staff. So that's kind of what we've done, right? The problem you have in any clienteling app is today they just give you access to the customer data, their details, their ability to send the campaigns or follow-up email when they go into the stores. What they don't do is they don't connect with the customers where they are not in your store. And that's, as we know, I think there is like a stat that you share with me, like, which I always forgot the exact numbers, but 70% or 80% of in-store sales are actually enabled by digital kind of influence. So what matters is how you connect that sales associate with what the customers have seen or have been browsing on your site, and how you create that sort of very immersive data so that actually when the customer gets into your store, you already know what he's been viewing, what he likes. And this is kind of what we've done. So we really based our approach not on the fact that we don't want to be a Salesforce, that's not the point. We actually use Salesforce for some of our stuff, so that's not actually the point. What the point is how you create that experience and how you enable technology to really connect the customer and the SA in a really seamless way. So when I arrive in the store, how do I know Sandrine arrived in the store? What are the way we can test that with the app we give to the sales associate? Because recognizing the customer is really critical for luxury brands, right? I mean, if you are going into any luxury brands, you're a VIP of them in their stores in London, you won't be recognized when you go in New York, I promise you. This is one of the biggest challenges. So tackling that customer recognition was one of the first piece. And then looking at that personal and personalized service in a way that, as I said, be able for the sales associate on their apps to see what I've been browsing versus what I've been buying. If I buy a McQueen dress, I'm not going to buy a McQueen dress next time. There is no point. What matters is what I've seen, so that I can get a sense of what I am interested in and the mood I am in, especially because the cohort of luxury are changing so rapidly. And finally, which is sometimes a kind of word that luxury brands don't want to hear, is the ease of making those experiences super easy. So payment needs to be very quick, packaging needs to be really short, and that's always a challenge is luxury stores. They want to make that very long. I mean, they have to make that very long because of their system. So I suppose for us, looking at those challenges, we build the app, which we call the in-store app, around all of that different element of the journey, leaving to great companies like the Salesforce of this world the ability to build on this very kind of clienteling stuff, which are more about outreach marketing, which is not really what we kind of where we can compete. That's not the point. We want to compete on the innovation piece, I guess.
And do you want the customer to open the Brands app on their own smartphone? Is that good? Is that a good thing to do?
No, I think that's not actually the point about the app. Again, we look at the experience. So if I go to in a store like Browns, or any brands want to use our technology, if I know the brand already and I'm engaged in that conversation, I know the product, I might have the app, I might not have the app, it doesn't matter. It's what I'm looking for. I think the app is there as a tool to enhance the experience that a customer will get in that store and beyond that store. But some customers don't want apps, and that's okay. They can still have a journey, which is, powered by the sales associate. So I think for us, it's interesting because sometimes, okay, well, do I need to download the app? I think let's pause for a second, right? Let's put technology aside and again, think about how you do retail. And then there is different maturity of customer that might actually use those apps or not use those apps. Some of them will actually get that really excited. I mean, some love that stuff, some don't, but that's okay. You can still power the same type of services without having them to download the app if they don't wish to.
Yeah, we've the last few years, obviously there's been this whole rethink about the metrics by which you judge the success and performance of a physical retail space rather than sales per square foot. But how do you think about the metrics of some of this kind of personalization, clienteling, whatever, technology? How do you judge the success of it?
So it took us some time to look at metrics because it's not always that straightforward. You got a lot of data, but sometimes obviously it's not always kind of clear what is the value. So it took us some time. But actually, the two big takeaways, which is really interesting. The first takeaway around sales, because any retailers at the end of the day, they want to make more money, right? So regardless, that's about sales. And we have an interesting uplift in incremental sales in our store, around 30%. because of that technology. And the reason being is because more and more those new retail formats tend to be around more entertaining and engaging than just actually a big kind of dump of all their stock, right? So what we are seeing is the ability to connect in real time the sales associate with a stock in our warehouse and fulfill web orders allowed actually the store to make actually 30% of incremental sales with that technology, which is absolutely amazing. So you can think about it in the context of a department store or any type of nomad kind of pop-up stores we can build. I mean, that was actually a really great learning for us. And obviously it allows us to really build up on that experience even more. And the second point, which is back to your comment around smart mirrors or like magic mirrors, I love that.
Yeah.
This word makes me laugh. Which at the beginning, when we look at it, we had really, 7 years ago, we had really some reservation about this type of tech. Of course, why do you put in front of you a mirror with what you can see on the website? You can just look at the website anyway. So the point was actually what is it in a fitting room that enhances my experience and makes me buy more and engage around those products. And again, the challenge is actually not all those products are in store. So if you can portray to a customer an outfit or a look which is actually combining those products that are sitting in a warehouse, make it super engaging, powered by the SA, which is what's happening for their apps, this is kind of where amazing conversions is driving. And we have like triple-digit improvement in conversion rate for that type of technology.
Wow.
But it's powered by the sales associate, which I think is a big difference from what happened before, where it was just customers touching the screen.
Got it. I think we've got I'd quickly like to just talk about two kind of longer-standing FARFETCH clients working on kind of in-store technology, Thom Browne and Chanel, just because they're quite different in terms of what they come to you for and the problems they face, and they seem quite instructive in terms of, just retail challenges at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think what is really interesting with, any technology, right? And I think we touched on before in the previous presentation is really around what is the problem any brands or partners are trying to solve and how that technology can be really fitting those challenges. And this is what happened, right, in those two brands and other brands we are working with as we're extending our portfolio of brands around connected retail. They come for different things. I mean, a brand like Thom Browne is really focusing on how they can tap into this e-concession model where they can offer to their customers in stores who are very small, tapping into that inventory all around the world, and that's at the fingertips of their sales associate. For Chanel, it's all about, customer experience, clients experience in boutique. They are not online when it comes to luxury. So how do you make that journey in store really immersive and really interesting, and especially focusing on their elite clientele? And what is exciting for us as FARFETCH and as the fact we have a lot of people, everyone is understanding really luxury inside out, is how we embed ourselves into those brands to really understand really their strategy and be able to advise and shape the technology from what they really need.
I'll throw one last one before we go, Slido. And that we've already talked today about community and the importance of community, and we've also talked about tokens and crypto and Web3, but you're kind of using cryptocurrency on the. It's interesting what's happening at the moment, because I think unless you have, I'm not talking about Web3 or someone's not talking about Web3, it's not cool. I think this is actually quite funny because I think this whole world is getting a bit out of control. I think what, first of all, we should not forget is very, very, very new. Yeah.
It's very new, right? I was in a conference like this and I was asking people who own crypto. And you're like, maybe, 5% of people own crypto. Yeah. And out of this 5%, there were maybe 1% of people who own NFTs. Oops, I'm still here. You still hear me? So in terms of our take around Web3 is you have to go as a platform or as a brand with respect to a community who have been in crypto for about 10 years. Otherwise, you lose your credibility, full stop. And a lot of the brands who are doing this right now are sometimes just so focused on the hype that they forget the why they are doing this. So what we've been doing, first of all, is really trying to tap into these communities by enabling those communities to buy their products on crypto and FARFETCH, right? This is so basic. So we've been launching actually in our stores in brands and in New Guards Group stores, crypto terminal back in February. this year. Yeah, we did that. And then actually, we've been testing that technology on FARFETCH. And actually, we launched it, like fully launched to the consumers this week. Incredible result, obviously, because we have private clients. It's a way to acquire those new customers, and they give them a sense to actually buy on FARFETCH. Always really basic stuff. But what we also are doing in parallel as a platform is engaging with the ecosystem from a technology standpoint. So we launched about a couple of months ago a Web3 accelerator up with Outlier Ventures, which is actually a very well-known Web3 technology partner, and we basically launched this accelerator for luxury, Web3 and luxury, and we are focusing on getting startup into our base camp, where we give mentorship and access also to investment as part of this program. And what is very interesting here is the feedback we get is actually, obviously there is a lot of buzz. There is a lot of the very early stage startups, so it's still projects, nothing has been really built. Because as you all know, in Web3 right now, it's a lot of projects, but not really scalable. There is a few scalable partners, but not that much. But actually, the quality of the entrepreneurs is very high.
Right.
So that's actually very new to what we've seen before in other accelerators, which actually go back to my point around is very early stage. So as a brand, I mean, I always talk to the brand and say, when you think about this, approaching in a very different way, don't think you have to just launch an NFT tomorrow, especially considering the market, you know, NFT and PFP don't actually make any sense today. I mean, it has to be very different. It has to be aligned with a physical experience, because that's kind of what we see now with the communities that are really successful or have been communities really successful in Web3, Yugo Labs or Dodals, for example. They started with Web3, but now they're moving into physical, right, with merchandise and actually very physical proposition to make their community really engage. So I think for luxury brands, they have to really think about it, how they do it, and just not be on the rush to do something just for the sake of it.